Do you think there's another dimension where life is happening, or like it starts to happen as we go into digital world and streaming? Because this is kind of, captured life on on video, and it stays there forever. It can carry your lesson
Yeah.
through the time, and it's not really it doesn't really depend on whether you're alive or not. It's gonna the information gonna be there,
Mm.
the idea gonna be there,
Mm.
the energy that you might pass on by living that moment, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of my understanding. But I wanted to see how do you see this world, and so we're in the Deer Park Monastery,
In Escondido, California.
es- Escondido,
Yeah, which is the
California,
the
next
monastery
to San
next to San Diego. It's a monastery in the tradition of Thich Nhat Hanh, who is one of the foremost like Buddhist masters of the modern era, especially for Western people. So this is a monastery in his tradition, and the main one is called Plum Village, and that's in France. And then there's 3 branches in the U.S. Here in California, in New York, and one's in Kentucky, or kind of one place that's like a southern area.
hmm So what are you doing?
This
What
is
is
a
this?
this is a ripe pu'er tea. So
Right
this
where?
is
Whoa.
yeah. So this
Mhm.
is a fermented Chinese tea. This one from Taiwan, I believe, but it's a very it's a rich and it's a fermented tea. So like kind of like a kombucha of tea, or a stinky tofu of tea. Sometimes it can actually smell like stinky tofu.
hmm
If you ever had that, comes in this big cake, solid cake like this.
Can you show it a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Rotate maybe.
You have to break it
Cake.
up. You have to kind of.
Yeah.
So there's a knife, a pu'er knife, to use to
A
break
weapon.
it up. It certainly could be a weapon, but here it's more for just breaking the tea up
hmm
in a non-violent way. Ideally in a way of mindfulness. Yeah, can you hold this for a sec? Can I inspect it? What do you smell?
It doesn't have a strong smell.
Mm.
So some earthy
Mm-hmm.
kind of, maybe a little wood, but no. Leafy, earthy, something like that.
Mm. Smells like tea.
Yeah.
Mm.
But it's good because it doesn't have any
No off-putting.
artificial flavors.
No, nothing artificial about it.
Mhm.
Only thing artificial is the kind of the forced fermentation process that it
Mhm.
undergoes. And this actually, in martial arts, in Kung Fu, this is the Kung Fu way. The Kung Fu way to prepare tea is what I'll be doing today.
You know, this is my first time having a video situation like that.
Yeah. It takes a lot of trial and error and practice to get used
Yeah, like
to
right now I cannot.
using multiple cameras and
Uh-huh.
all these different things going on. But as long as the sincerity and the authenticity is there, then people can feel that, and the people who
Yes, because
it will be meaningful for them.
we have gone here. We have come here anyway.
Yeah.
So
And when
I
you're
think
up, can
why
you
not?
check the angle here? So
Mhm.
can they see? Does it look correct?
Your frame card over here. The
Oh,
frame
over here.
cards. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. Let me. I think you're too close. Okay. I'm gonna put.
Yeah, that looks good. That looks much better.
Oh, you can see like
Yeah, I'm
yourself.
looking at it there.
Okay.
It's on the live stream.
Uh-huh. Nice. Wonderful. Yes?
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
And I think in this one. That's far. So where it's ready pretty much like that quick.
Well, it's a continuous brewing. So the first brew is actually, if you historically, pu'er is kind of the least quality tea leaves, and then they put them all together and they ferment them. So it has a certain flavor that goes along with it. But now with like this pu'er, this is more higher quality leaves and it's taken care of in a good way. But for the for the older or less there's been less deep consideration put into the tea, then usually this will be the rinse water. The first rinse, you just rinse the tea to get rid of any chemicals or anything like that. But this one has a very good provenance, so you can drink the first steep.
Nice.
And usual tea etiquette is if you want more, then you put the teacup back when you're finished, and if you don't, you can turn it over.
So like I said, when I took a walk through this place, it feels and it looks and it has like an energy that everything is solved. And as I drove, through the facility, I seen a lot of uh, places that are just like organized as a garden when there's not even so it you know it kind of have a structure, a natural structure, and the circles with the rocks, and to you it has a visual pattern that shows that this place, somebody takes care of this place. And yeah.
Well, if you have mindfulness, if you have a relationship with the present moment, and it's much more possible to take care of things in a deep way, not just a surface level way. If you don't have a relationship with the present moment, with the mindfulness, like the present moment experiencing, the seeing in the present, these are where all your senses are. You know, if you're risking your life, or if you're in a martial arts situation, physical or mental, if you're not in the present moment, you're out of it. And you're out of the discussion for being successful. So the same is true for taking care of ourselves and the environment. The more you can be present, the more you can be in tune with what's happening right now, the more capacity you have to be with it skillfully, to learn, to grow from the mistakes, and for everything to be an opportunity to deepen your way, your practice. But if you're not mindful, if you don't have a relationship with the present moment, you just have to, you know, cross your fingers and hope that things work out by you chasing your desires and ignoring your, or trying to get away from your fears. It's like you've got to hope that you're heavy. Like if you're in a martial arts situation, you know, you're grappling with someone, and maybe you'll be heavy, maybe you won't. Or maybe you'll lose all the weight, maybe you'll lose the good conditions. So then how will you practice? You know, how will you manage that? And mindfulness gives us a doorway to manage everything and to solve everything, because it's being aware of what's here in the present moment. And the present moment is quite simple. It doesn't need to be complicated.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like if you're looking for the purpose of your life, the meaning of your life, the truth of all life and reality, and then you find it in this simple present moment as it is. Well, what are you going to do? Enjoy it, right? And let go of all the nonsense, and allow that unfolding to take place more and more.
Enjoy the moment.
Yeah. Enjoy your moment.
Last time I remember you were telling that if you're not mindful, you can find yourself in a different kind of situations.
Yeah.
When you lose control over yourself. I was thinking about this, and because I never quite had, you know, this kind of situations when you like lose control over yourself. And have you experienced that? Have you like, you know, I think we should start maybe from your story. How did you become a monk? Because like that, I think for me the most interesting part about your story is like the moment of decision.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So like that's you know, that's a turn. Not 180 turn, but it's a other direction.
Yeah.
Next level.
And each moment is like that, because each moment is a moment where life and death are very real, and that's like the historical relevance of martial arts is to recognize that you are in a position of birth and death, and depending on what you do, you can succumb to that. Depending on what you do, you might die, but especially, I mean, you're going to die, but you'll find yourself in more trepidatious and more worrisome and negative experiences. depending on how you act, especially in a direct interaction, a human to human martial art interaction. There are things that are very simple to avoid, but if you don't know to avoid them, you'll be put in that position, and there's not much you can do. Even if you're way stronger, way smarter, way more wealthy than the other person or the other group, it doesn't matter because you didn't know this simple thing. And so mindfulness is just like the simplest thing, to be aware of what's happening right now, and that's a doorway for healing and also transformation of self-fixated stories or beliefs or ideas. So if there is a real true story about how I became a monk, it is ultimately way more subtle than I could talk about, because it's not just my perspective, it's not just my experience, but my experience as a part of an interconnected whole. And who I am now and how I grew up and the different faces that I've worn over the past, all of them were never me as a separate self-entity. It was always me in a state of interbeing with everything else and everyone else and all these interactions that I had. And that's really true. And over time, with the practice of meditation and living at monasteries and attending intensive meditation retreats and kind of confronting that deeper human experience, I'm not so caught up in that real true story the best I can tell it. Because the best I can tell it is to be here now, wholeheartedly. And to not rely just on complicated thinking. You know, that's a privilege of being a monk and living the way that I'm living. But it goes back to, to what you asked about finding yourself in those difficult situations or less difficult situations. Depending on your mindfulness, depending on your actions now, you're going to find yourself in a correlating, in one way or another, position and situation. So instead of being a monk, I might be in prison. Maybe I'm just as mindful as I am now, but because of the actions that I've made, I'm in a different environment. And I'm going to have to deal with that. It's certainly not going to feel like this feels, to be in a monastery. But it's completely possible. And it doesn't need to be a physical prison, but it can be a prison of the mind. It can be a prison of digging up past trauma and not dealing with it skillfully, and not showing compassion to myself. Any kind of self-fixated negative thinking, or pursuing desire for a long period of time, or pursuing aversion, trying to avoid something for a long period of time. And then you're kind of out of it, from my experience. Hyper-focusing on relationships with people, or sexuality, or getting some kind of success, it's so easy to get lost in that. And then when you are lost in that, you can be mindful and you can practice meditation, you can do whatever you can do to deal with it, but also you just have to wait. But in that period of waiting, who knows what can happen? And so you might not be prepared to help someone. You might not be prepared to help yourself because you've got lost in desire and aversion, those ways of being. So I've had a lot of experience with that, and people often have a perception about being a monk, and I talk with a lot of people, so that being a monk, like you become a monk because you're enlightened, or you're some guru or something like that. But actually I became a monk because I was suffering and I needed support. I needed a lot of support to continue on this journey of being a good person, being introspective and contemplative, and gaining a deeper understanding about the truth, not just my story, not just other people's stories. And it's easier to see through other people's stories, more difficult to see through my own. But that's the practice of living moment by moment and breath by breath.
Beautiful. how long ago was it when you made the decision?
Um, well, the decision to become a monk was kind of started by a decision to leave everything behind. And it wasn't necessarily, I didn't know what a monk was, and I didn't know what it would mean to be a monk. But I had this mindset of giving everything up and just living my life totally through principle. So I was living in Seattle. I had a great car.
Were you born there?
What is it?
Were
No,
you-
I was born on the East Coast
East Coast.
in Washington D.C. area,
Mhm.
like Maryland,
Mhm.
and but I found myself over in Seattle and had everything that I could want: great car, great job, great housing, great relationship with a woman, and I felt somehow that I was doing everything based on this attachment, this fear, like I needed to keep doing this to keep perpetuating what that thing was. So money from the job, or to pay for the car, to pay for the house, to be, just feeding into this relationship that was very sexually charged. And I said, okay, I'm just going to give all this stuff up and start living out of my car and doing meditation and giving away my possessions to homeless people, and but it kind of happened naturally just through detachment. Like I don't want to go to work anymore. I don't want to live in this, housing situation at all. I don't want to be, involved in something like that.
Were you in a
agreement and
relationship?
people- Yeah, I don't, and I said, I don't want to keep perpetuating this relationship, because it was very much about desire and control, and I didn't want to be involved in that anymore. So I just left all that stuff behind gradually, and I found myself in this position of being very exhausted, very isolated, very unstable and confused. Definitely having a deep spiritual practice. I was very focused in a certain way, but just exhausted, and I made my way to a Buddhist temple, and they accepted me, and eventually that led me to moving to Thailand later that year. But even that like strong desire to abandon and to let go of everything, it was still, in some sense, it was very selfish and also very arrogant. And so it took me a lot of trial and error and a lot of mistakes and a lot of difficulty to truly realize that I needed community support. I needed to take refuge in a sangha. And that's what led me to flying over to Thailand and ordaining in 2018.
2018.
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was 25, and I just turned 30.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Wow, what a number. As the time passes, and especially when we jump over to the second half of our life, or if we talking about time dimension, but and for example, I'm trying always to get to this state of being in the moment and ask myself what should happen with my destiny in this period and how to build. So like you constantly go in a state of no mind, just to breathe and inhale the current reality and then adjust to it. And through this past 11, 12 years since I'm in America, it's been like many changes, where the current is changing, where you have to choose something else, where you feel energy and you feel that it's not so much a success It's more of a feeling that you have the capacity to do something. And sword swallowing was one of those moments because what I seen in the past was made, talking about sword swallowing, art of sword swallowing. It was made by a human, with 2 hands and 2 feet, and he looks, you know, similar to you, except I have a breakdance background. I have um, some other perspective,
Mm.
and you feel like you can bring something to this art, and then you start to train. Not so much for like success, because there also was this moment when you kind of get lost in it, and it's really easy because every day changes, and um, you have tons of random people, tons of random opportunities or traps, uh, where your judgment is shifting a little bit. And then, again, you gotta get to the moment of where you're by yourself in a state of no mind and checking if you're going in the right direction. So, right now, uh, also a reason why I came is because, for example, right now I find myself in this kind of situation where, it can take a couple turns, and if I step in the reality of having a family, um, that means I won't be able, it cuts a lot of ways. Like, I will not be able to become a monk, for example,
Mm.
or, you know, do something that I always was dreaming to do, but the time has come. And right now, you're in that moment where, there's love, there's, when you're young and full of energy, against the moment when you decide this to do later, but later the conditions are going to be different because you will be older. You might be, more rich or whatever, more experienced, but um, the relationships are also going to be different with people. So, um, what do you think about that? And did you miss this opportunity, or not opportunity, like the way, or did you look ever in a way of having a family, and how is it matters in your life?
Well, I have a family in a certain sense that is much broader and wider than I've ever had before. And this is a family of people who look to me, as a fatherly figure, or look to me as a motherly figure, or look to me as some kind of partner for their spiritual path, for the work that they're doing. So it's almost, for me as a monk, there's too much opportunity. There's too much avenues for me to go down that it's almost, um, I don't think about it. And I certainly don't think of anything that I'm missing out on, because the the sexual desires and the material desires, smoke a bunch of weed, or, kind of have a real cool time or whatever. Um, Having a cappuccino at a coffee shop with the friends is enough. And I can do that as a monk. Or drinking a few non-alcoholic beers, with other monks. Sure, I mean, it's quite enjoyable, and I don't need this intense excitement. And I find that pursuing that intense excitement in any capacity, has not borne me a lot of fruit. But what has supported me so much is this willingness to let go of my grasping, my desire to go to this place or to that place, and also my desire to stay where I am. You know, this feel of I need to be here. You know, I need to be living in this certain kind of way, and I need to do this, I need to do that. That I don't need to do anything. And that, for me, that's certainly, there's like a social context to it that's very relevant, but it's also a state of mind of nowhere to go and nothing to do. And that I can find my identity and my sincerity and my path in that, you know, I don't need to be here. I don't need to go over there. I don't need to do this. I don't need to do that. Maybe there's good reasons to do it or to not do it, but it's that quality of mind of I don't need to go anywhere. I don't need to do anything. That's nourishing me a lot right now, and that I'm kind of practicing with. Earlier in my monastic life, I didn't have this feeling. You know, my life as a monk and traveling and living in Southeast Asia, I had more of a feeling of kind of enduring where I was, and that there wasn't another option, or not even being aware enough to look at my state in that way, to say I don't need to be here, and to really mean that. But for that not to mean I need to go over there, I need to do something else, but just as almost like a declaration of individuation, or a declaration of non-self, the individuation of non-self, like being an independent, recognizing my independent position of not having a fixed identity, and not needing to rely on a particular situation, particular environment to reinforce that, and you know, declaring that, and somehow it feels good to do that. It's a privileged position, but it's also a practice. It's also a state of mind that I feel is accessible if that's prioritized. You know, to not be grasping, to not get something, to not avoid something. It's all very experimental, because I'm a young person. You know, I'm young on the path of being a monk, and I'm just still trying to grow and learn and develop. Constant training and constant development. And for me, I need like something that's pushing me to develop. So I almost need let's say an adversary, or not an enemy, but some difficulty that I need to overcome and to deal with. And so I need to keep on top, keep practicing. So maybe in a martial arts sense, if you were the best person at your gym, you may not feel so inspired to continue training. If in grappling or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or whatever. But if there is this quality of not having a full grasp, and that there is a difficulty that is yet to be dealt with, right? Then there's this encouragement to keep going and to kind of keep honing in on what it is that's going on, and also how to face that and have a relationship with that. And for me, that's my dukkha and my self-fixation and my desire and my fear that's constantly coming up and arising, or my preferential mind. So that there is this constant push to keep getting involved and keep practicing, keep showing up in this particular way.
Keep showing up.
Yeah, keep showing up, exactly.
My master says it's all about reps, repetitions.
Yeah.
So this is your ordinary day.
Well, right now we're in a rest period, so we've got about a 2 week period. We've got a few days left. That's it's actually called lazy period. So there's just no schedule. So you fill in your day the way that you feel is most nourishing and supportive for you each individual month. And for me, that means I've been doing a lot of online teaching and just making myself available. And even something like this, if I was just alone having tea, then I could, turn on the live stream on TikTok or what have you, and people could just be there with me, and that does somehow keep me involved.
Mm-hmm.
It might not be the best way to do it, right? Monks are supposed to be in a cave having tea by themselves and by a single lit flame in the darkness, and that's good too. But there's something very nourishing to me about connecting with other people and showing up for other people and being accessible. Because when I was a young person, I never had someone that was ever accessible to me. And it's just what I needed more than anything else. Someone who, yeah, I'm here for you. Whatever the situation is, you let me know, and I'll kind of connect with you about that or try to support you. And I mean, I did have people, I had my grandma, I had different people in my life that were.
What about your parents?
My parents separated, and both of them had to primarily work a lot to support the housing and all those basic needs. So, of course, I didn't have evil parents or anything like that, but I didn't feel like there was someone who was facing me and looking at me and saying, I'm accessible. If you need something or if something's going on, I'm your guy. I'm that person that you can talk to. And I want to be that person for as many people as I can. As much as my attention and my practice can sustain that, I want to be that person.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
But having an ongoing online presence that isn't just like doing classes or guided meditation or something also lets people see that I'm a human being. And as much as my positive qualities deserve respect and appreciation, but not to be worshipped, not to be put on a pedestal, my negative or unskillful qualities, should be seen as they are, but also not damning. No one needs to be punished, no one needs to be damned, no one even needs to be graded. It's just not necessary. What's necessary is to, help each other and take care of each other in this world as best we can. And that's more like coming back to the intention about it rather than the specific action, because we're all it's a work in progress for all of us. How we show up, how we take care.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So you committed to a life without having your own child. What do you think about that?
Well, I could be raising children right now if that's what I wanted to do as a monk.
Mm-hmm.
I could be, working in Myanmar or Sri Lanka and very active in, or Cambodia, active working with children, being a teacher, being an English teacher, or whatever it would be. Super possible. But for me to propagate my genetics or something like that, to have a child in that particular way, I don't feel a major draw to do anything like that. Because I feel a life of celibacy is ultimately a lot more rewarding.
Life of
Celibacy.
Can
So not participating in sexual activity. So that, of course, there's sexual energy, especially for a young, healthy person, there's sexual energy.
Yeah.
But to transmute that or to work with that energy in a way that's not based in just acting out sexually. And that's an ongoing process, it's not something you flip a switch and it all goes away, but It's
Yeah.
it's an intention that they keep coming back to. But that also is not rejecting sexuality. So it's not rejecting the sexual energy inside myself, but it's saying, well, how can I work with this and how can I be more deeply aware of it without just going to that animalistic kind of place?
So in simple words, when you're horny, you're trying to redirect the energy. Um, is it something shameful to masturbate? And how is that? What's your view on that?
It's not something shameful, but it's something to be very careful about. And
Mm-hmm.
also, everyone is not a Buddhist monk. So if you're not a Buddhist monk, you're just a Buddhist. There's not masturbation is not something against Buddhism. But for monks, we practice celibacy. That includes refraining from fully, or at the very least, moving away from any kind of reliance on masturbation, and then ideally to be celibate, to not practice that at all. And some traditions take that to be more important than others. Right? For some traditions, that's extremely, extremely strict, and some traditions it's less so. Monastic orders, but it's still seen as something you want to ultimately let go of.
Avoid.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Convert. You want to convert that energy, not just.
Where this energy, how it transforms into what, and what's the end fruit of that?
Well, I think that as a whole, sexual energy can lean towards toxic masculinity, right? I mean, the most negative aspects of masculinity can oftentimes relate to sexual energy
Mm-hmm.
and a strong desire for sexual experiences at the kind of the loss of other human beings, right? To just fulfill this sexual experience. So, what I can say is that, in the past, when I have been more involved with, sexual energy and not trying to control it, I would feel very tired. I would feel exhausted, and in certain times, I would also feel kind of confused about my direction in life and who I really was, because it can be an animalistic energy, a very base energy, that sexual drive, that sexual desire. There's something about it that can make people very animalistic, and that can make people very not caring about one another, or not caring about themselves in the deepest way. I've experienced some trauma in my life related to sexuality, and so it's all the more reason for me that I have to be more careful with that energy, and how I turn it towards myself or how I express it outwards. And so that eventually led me to being a monk, where I'm working to transmute that. And I find that there's more of a clear-headedness, there's more of a resiliency, and there's definitely a more direct access to wholesomeness. So I don't feel so kind of burdened or pulled into that, like, selfish desire and strong selfish thinking about my desires. Like, sure, I'm a masculine agent or whatever. I'm an agent in the world, and I have desires and fears, etc. And that relates to a social context. But ultimately, I don't need to take that so seriously. It's
But
like my
what are your?
desires,
Mm-hmm.
my fears,
Mm-hmm.
my capacity to use force or energy to get my desires and avoid my fears. And I find that when I was participating in sexual activity and sexual energies, I felt more like that. If I desired something or if I feared something, there was more of a I was more powerless to let go of that and not take that so seriously. Whereas now, sure, I desire something or I fear something, or someone has a judgment about me, or I have a judgment about someone else. It's not that big a deal. It's nothing to worry too much about, really.
Mm-hmm.
So that participating in sexual activity and sexual energy can really enliven that sense of self, right? That strong sense of someone in some place at some time that wants something. Um, but stepping back from it, that whole definition of the self-focused story is less sticky.
Mm-hmm. You say the sexual trauma. Um, did that have any consequence in your decision making? In
Well, what, like how I grew up and the experiences that I went through, um, I look back on that and I can't say that that's not me, um, but I also can't say that that is exactly me, that that's the same as me. So it's more like there's an inner child in myself that I am actively working to take care of and to show the whole spectrum of love to. And me as a monk is exactly what that child needs. And my aspiration as a monk is to become more empowered, more compassionate, more wise to take care of that inner child in myself that had suffering, that was powerless, that was confused, and to say it's okay now. You don't have to worry. You don't have to run away. You don't have to stay here. You don't have to be alone. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be confused, because I'm here for you. And I'm not here for you in a loose way or a general way, but I'm really here for you. And all of this is this is part of my practice. It's not that I'm fully successful in all this, right? Because it takes time, but that the journey of it and the practice of it is somehow also the end goal. It's like, if you do a good deed, that's a good effect right there. The moment you're doing a good deed, or the moment you're acting from a wholesome intention to help or to bring benefit, you already have your good effect. It's happening simultaneously.
mm-hmm. So since you became monk, did that was the end of your sexual life?
In terms of my commitment, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of sexual energy and all that, it goes to different areas. It goes to different places. It still comes up. It's
It
still
goes in
something.
different bodies.
No. You can't. So as a monk, there's 4 things you cannot do, and so at the moment that you do them, you're no longer a monk. So that's murdering someone, so killing someone, stealing something of value. Doesn't mean borrowing somebody's shampoo without their permission. Claiming to be enlightened when you're not, or claiming like a spiritual power or authority when you don't have it, and then finally to have sex with anyone or anything or animal. Yeah. Any kind of sexual intercourse, you're immediately not a monk anymore.
Wow. Pretty strict.
Yeah, but there are different relationships that can come up when you're not so sex driven. There are different qualities of relationships with men and with women that can come up naturally. With other monks, with nuns, deep meaningful friendships. And
You have nuns here?
yeah, not here in this area, but down there in their area, there's like more than 30 Vietnamese nuns down there.
I see. So the moment when I see you today, you were riding an electric bike, and you said it's a community sharing this bike.
Yeah.
What do you have sort of like a Netflix or something? And if you, for example, were into movies and TV shows, it's okay. Is it because like in America right now, like it's kind of also been in the news. For example, Netflix doesn't want you to share passwords, and here, for example, the facility has a lot of people that could have, if there's like important information or interesting TV show about, for example, nature, right?
Yeah, something worthwhile.
I think you always enjoy watching nature, right? And you sharing Netflix. Um, is that okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's to share something that you're experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
So to kind of to regulate or try to control something that you are experiencing, mainly relating to mind. So like audio-visual stuff is just data that's being presented in a certain way, where we can perceive it through our senses, and that data is more related to the mind than it is the body. So like it doesn't matter what movie it is, it's not carrying around hairs of a jaguar or something inside of it, right? There's not so much material to it. I guess there is some material, but it's mostly mind.
Yeah, an idea,
Yeah,
a vision.
right. So this idea that you can copyright or you can control and have possession over some aspect of mind that someone else is experiencing is a problematic idea. It's not, it's not a limited resource
Yeah.
in that way. So, well, we just had a
So the concept of copywriting a tune, a music, video, it's not really the way.
well, it's something you'd have to look at, and I'm sure there are some people who've written on it, maybe some monks who have written on it, but the real situation is the rule is relating to in the Buddha's time, and I've heard another monk speak about this, and he said even more importantly in those kinds of situations is to make sure that you're not like bringing up a mind of stinginess. So if you're like a wealthy person or what have you, and you're going out of your way to avoid even the smallest expense because you're stingy, because you're greedy, that's more of a problem than you just watching that film, right? Because it's affecting your mind. It's a quality of mind that's becoming established in you, and that's going to cause you to suffer. But it points to like the deeper idea behind these rules is not that we're in the army, that we're in the Buddhist army, or that we're following the 10 Commandments of Buddha, but it's how do we end our suffering? How do we transform our suffering? How do we reduce self-fixation? How do we reduce attachment? How do we see about the truth? How do we find our true nature? Which, where is your true nature? Well, where is what kind of truth is going to be there as a meteor is coming towards Earth and crashes down and you're looking at it in the sky? It's going to be in the present moment. So the truth of your life and the truth of reality is here in the present moment. And what is this present moment? And dropping our assumptions about this present moment and not completely relying on our grasping or our aversion in this present moment allows us to look more and more closely into the situation that we find ourselves in. So in Buddhism, we have a doctrine of no self, okay, no true soul or no true self, no real true person and a real true story. But the practice of that doctrine is not to say you don't have a self, you're not real. I might not believe you're real. That's a little bit more reasonable to say, but that's not in terms of like you're a fraud or you're authentic or whatever. It's that I don't believe that there's a you that exists outside this present moment. And so but in that case, like for the practice of Buddhism, it's dropping our assumptions about what the self is, what our past is, what our future is, what the situation is right now. There's one way to look at it, there's another way to look at it, there's another, but then there's also this dropping of those assumptions and those views and to participate in the looking and in the investigation, the exploration of this present moment experiencing.
You're saying about frauds, and how do you see? Um, so the question is, how do you see who the person really is, and going forward, you meet a monk, without confirming his background, can you spot what level he is on, and if there's hierarchy, and how does it work, and how do you define, like, okay, you, well, if we take away the age and the ranks, for example, in jiu-jitsu we have, we just meet on the mat and we solve it over there. Whoever is more skillful, that guy won, and he's
Yeah.
right. And so how do you
Well, the mind
do
is
that?
more subtle. A good way to determine the authenticity of a monk is if they're trying to sell you something, especially in relationship to money. If there's anything in relationship to money or selling something, or even unless they're running a charity, like they're actively involved in, some monks are actively involved in social work. So like if I was actively involved in social work and running a charity, I would sell Buddha bobbleheads on my TikTok live stream. I don't care, because it's direct redistribution of wealth for for charity, for poor kids, whatever it would be, and I'm going to do my best to do that successfully and skillfully. So that could be exploited, right? So you want to look into it and actually know the person
in a good way?
Yeah, but if you're doing something good, then you're not shy to let other people know about it and say, this is how you can support. So some monks are involved in social work in that way. Most aren't in that exact position. So any kind of, give me money, or I'll give you this and you give me that, is right off the bat a massive red signal. Even selling meditation, or selling meditation classes, or selling private lessons, or anything like that, is, at least for Buddhist monks, is going to be a pretty red flag. Because if you're a real Buddhist monk, especially if you're Western and English speaking and educated, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to be supported just naturally. People are already going to be giving you money and stuff. So if you're actively like trying to sell something or make money, then this is very unlikely to be someone who's really on the path, an authentic monk. The other side of things is, what's authentic for you might not be authentic for somebody else. We all hold different views, so you really shouldn't get attached to any particular view at all. Sometimes I'll say, like, I am real, or I am a Buddhist monk, or Buddhism is real, meditation is real. What is real is just depends on different people's perspectives. If you go on this really massive deep tangent about me being an authentic Buddhist monk, a real valuable Buddhist monk, and then somebody over here is sitting over there and they say, no, I can, it's about you. It's about your attachment to a particular view that's the problem. And we can't rip other people's views from them. And we don't need to. So it's just, you use your sincerity and you use your contemplativeness to determine if someone is skillful or not in terms of your mind. Or for physical things, it would be in terms of, jiu-jitsu, right? You get a hold of them, you interact with them, you prod a little bit, you ask some questions, and you see if they can keep up. And if they can, you say, oh, well.
Oh, so you go on the deeper levels.
Yeah, but with sincerity, not to
test him.
Not really to test him. It's more like it's your sincerity to know about it. Because if you're trying to test somebody, they're very likely to, say, I'm not
What
here
are you
to be.
doing?
Yeah, what are you talking about? I'm not here to play games with you, bud. I'm also doing stuff. I'm also involved in work. So it's like, I'm not here to be tested by random people who are stuck in their perceptions. And even in martial arts, or in the art of the mind, right? We're not running around trying to fight people or prove ourselves to people. That's not the point. But if you're interested in someone, if you're interested in a particular technique, a particular way of being, then you can show up with more sincerity and more involvement, and you can find out about it as far as you can know about it. If you're a brown belt, there's a certain capacity you have to know about someone's skill level. If someone's a triple level black belt or triple black belt, whatever it is in martial arts, well, as a brown belt, as someone who's relatively new, you can only know about the level up to the brown belt in general. And in certain ways, it's similar to the mind. So like, but you shouldn't get too fixated on that because everything's ultimately empty, right? And that's the mind approach or the Buddhist approach to levels and different people's positions. Is ultimately their position is empty.
Mm-hmm.
The ultimate position is no position. For martial arts, the best way to win a fight, don't get involved with one, right? Don't be in a fight. Look, winner, 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 winner. So
I'm thinking in a different dimension.
Sure. So don't get in a fight and you'll be a winner.
Yeah, because there's a lot of also levels, and one martial artist, he was taught only to pin someone on the mat, and another martial artist is learning to kill.
Sure, that's right. Yeah.
So it's two different.
There's all kinds of different dimensions and avenues for practice and for spiritual life and mental training and physical training.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to use your sincerity. In terms of the hierarchy of monks, it can be very social, it can be very political, but certainly if you develop a degree of mental training and a degree of insight into your own mind, for the most part, you will be able to ascertain someone else's insight into their mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like they'll be able to meet you wherever you go, and they won't seem to be like out of breath or confused about that or not ready to to be skillful. But in a lot of things we can't really know just from our perception. So, sitting here having tea, beautiful area, quiet area, etc. We say, oh, this guy is quite skillful, I'm quite skillful, but we wouldn't really know about how the mind would react in a certain situation until we're in that situation. So you see a monk and you say, oh, that guy's out of it, or that monk isn't really that wise, or can't really deal with the deeper stuff. You wouldn't know unless you were in the deeper stuff with that person. But you can kind of get a feel of it if you're really sincere and you're really interested and you've done some training on your own.
With the training on your own, can you become more skillful than other monks that have more degrees than you?
We're not competing.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a non-competitive
Makes sense.
environment. It's only really about outside of like social and political or these kind of dynamics that are there. As far as practice goes or the mind goes, we're not competing. And the higher the monk, the less they will have that competitive mindset, unless they are doing it as a way to teach or to help. They won't be the very nature of their being a high-level monk or having a high-level understanding is that they are not self-fixated. They do not believe, they're not stuck in themselves. They're not tripping on themselves. So they may act in a certain way to bring benefit, to help a younger monk or whatever, but they're not like, there's nothing to compete over. And if they were in a situation where there was something to compete over, they would use that as a training for themselves, or they would go to another place. They wouldn't get involved in like, how do I defeat this? That's ridiculous. Once you get into that mindset, you're
that's
about
a loss.
Yeah, that's a real loss. Yeah.
So by not reaching, you're reaching further.
Yeah. And to like abandon those frictions or those difficulties that come up with two people in a group, to practice detachment, but also to practice like letting go of your self-importance and just apologizing or saying, I see you, I understand you, you have these good qualities, and I regret that I acted in these certain ways that maybe triggered or upsetted that person. Right? And so then you just step back and you go back to your practice, not waiting for the the next grapple or something like that. If all the
Well
monks
said.
here were arm wrestlers, then maybe we would have a little bit of a different dynamic at certain points. But
Whoa.
none of the monks here are really arm wrestlers, besides me.
It's easy to say when you're alpha here. In a
I'm not the alpha
in a
here,
way, well,
but I do like arm
in some
wrestling.
dimensions, you are, right?
I am the. I'll say it. All right. I'm not going to be too proud to say this. I am the #1 arm wrestler at Deer Park Monastery.
The champ.
Yeah, technically. So it is what it is.
Beautiful.
I have to carry that burden.
So there's no way to grow if you're, like you said, if you're top of the food chain in your
Not
field.
necessarily. You just might need certain degree more of motivation,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to find that internally rather than externally.
So yeah, I see, because the straps that you make in pull-ups are really, that helps,
Yeah.
and that's your way to keep the focus on things that you like, things where you can improve.
Yeah. But for most people, you have to, to be on the path to be a martial artist or to be a Buddhist or to be a spiritual person, a spiritual practitioner. The main factor that determines if you are or you aren't is if you're constantly going in the direction of supporting conditions. So you're trying to find a dojo in your area, you're trying to find a group in your area, you're trying to find a meditation center or a Buddhist temple or a monk or an online event or a talk to listen to, or whatever, but you're constantly looking for more supporting conditions to continue your practice.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that's why, I'm a Buddhist monk living at a monastery, is because I continue going towards those conditions. If arm wrestling was my #1 priority, this wouldn't be the place to live, right? This wouldn't necessarily be the place to live. Or, I'd
True.
be going from this place to an arm wrestling group in the area, which is just not that important to me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not so much about a particular kind of practice or a particular kind of experience that makes you an arm wrestler, or that makes you a martial artist, or that makes you a monk or a spiritual practitioner, but it's that you continuously go in this direction in your life, day after day, week after week, month after month, and then you go into a different direction, and then you recognize that, and then you continue. You restart, refresh, continue going in that direction of, for me, Buddhist teachings, doing good deeds, offering out my experience for the benefit of others, meditation, and detachment, this willingness to let go. This coming back to nowhere to go, nothing to do. So you ready to learn how to sing a song? Meditation song?
Whoa, I didn't expect that, Jared.
Mm-hmm. This is a part of the practice here at the Deer Park Monastery. I've been taught this practice. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first line of the song is, happiness is here and now. I have dropped my worries. All right? So you can listen to me sing it first, and then the second time you try to join in with me, all right? This is your test. All right. Happiness is here and now. I have dropped my worries. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Try to sing again. Okay, deep breath. Happiness is here and now. I have dropped my worries. Okay, next line is, nowhere to go, nothing to do. I don't need to hurry. So you can listen to me sing it first. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. No longer in a hurry. Ready? Nowhere to go, nothing to do, no longer in a hurry. So we can do the first part all together. Happiness is here and now. I have dropped my worries. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. No longer in a hurry. Okay, the second part's mostly the same. Happiness is here and now. I have dropped my worries. Somewhere to go. Somewhere to go, something to do. But I don't need to hurry. All right, all together now. Let's hear it. Happiness is here and now. I have dropped my worries. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. No longer in a hurry. Happiness is here and now. I have dropped my worries. Somewhere to go, something to do. But I don't need to hurry. Woo, wonderful.
Lovely.
Yeah, it changes the quality of the mind very quickly.
Especially when you close your eyes.
Yeah, powerful.
I think I'm full on tea.
Okay.
Thanks.
This is the last of the water. Well, I guess the only thing left to do now is try a little bit of arm wrestling, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Can I use the restroom first?
Yeah. So the restroom, it will be a little bit of a walk. It's just I'll go there with you.
Okay.
I'll show you where it is. And we can walk over with our friends. Are you gonna pause your video?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, let's just walk over there. Hi, everybody. Wow. You know, we're actually launching a website. My community. We're launching a website today with a lot of resources for people getting started on the Buddhist path, and these are all people who come to visit the temple because they are the Buddhist Vietnamese people, and this is a major Vietnamese temple in the area, so they come to pay respect and practice some meditation, come to see the Buddha. People, because I have someone gave me this like a Buddha bobblehead, and I put it usually on the live stream, and then everyone's asking me where do where do we get that? I want to buy it. Yeah, how are you?
Good.
So you can go in there.
Yeah.
You just come to visit the temple today?
Yes,
to visit?
our family go for
Pilgrimage, yeah? All the different temple.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is number 5.
Wow.
We will go 5 temple.
Wow.
We go to Trúc Vàng. We go to Pháp Vương. We go to Pháp Thuận. We go to Đại Đăng. Now
Đại
this
Đăng.
is Đại Đăng. Yeah. Now we go to this one.
Dai Dang, the biggest,
Yes.
right? The
yes.
biggest temple. How many monk there you think? It died down.
Right now, I don't know exactly because I live in San Diego.
Oh.
Yeah, we
okay.
live far San Diego. We just take a family together, set up one day. We go visit like
One day,
yeah,
all together.
all together go like 4, 5, 6, 7 temple around this area.
Oh.
Vista, Scandido, and Bonsai, whatever, close over here together. So
Okay.
this one is we have a difficult to go to this one because sometimes they close.
That's right.
Yeah, sometimes we close. But today we lucky,
Yeah.
so we come in.
Mm.
How long you been here?
Just a few months. I
Just
just
few
to visit and to stay for a while, learn about the practices they do
Yes.
here,
Uh-huh.
and so I can continue on the path.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good for you. That's good. Yes.
And this live stream, some of my follower, they watch this man. He come to talk with me and interview me. So I share live with
A lot of people.
a few people,
yeah,
but a few follower.
yeah. That's good. So you not come from California?
No, I'm from the East Coast
Oh, the East Coast.
originally,
Oh.
but since I become the monk, then I travel to Asia, to Vietnam, to Thailand, to Myanmar. Travel around a lot.
Oh, okay.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, nice to meet you.
We met at the airport.
Oh, you met at the airport?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. You from East Coast too?
Uh,
Or you live in here?
I live here.
Oh, you live here.
I live here.
Yeah, you live in East Coast.
Where are you from?
We are from San Diego.
San Diego.
Yeah. Yeah. So we just take the whole family go to visit about 4 or 5 temples right now.
4 or 5 temples?
So this is number 5 already.
No way.
We wake
There's
up,
many temples around?
yeah, we
Wow.
wake up at 7 o'clock and we start go out with 9 o'clock. We have
Wow.
to set up all the food we bring with us and we go around, keep going.
Nice.
Yeah.
So there's a Buddhist monastery, all of them Buddhist monasteries.
Yeah.
Wow. I was thinking there's only one. I came from Los Angeles.
So same thing.
Yeah, so
Yeah, this is my wife.
hello.
Không không từ lót. Xuống này phỏng vấn sư người Mỹ East Coast không. Yeah. So okay, so I let you interview him. So we go to the
Thank
prayer
you.
after the invite.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. So you also want to record the arm wrestling? Is that going to be a part of your production? What do you think?
As you wish.
Well, it's great to have it in there. People,
Yeah.
they definitely want to see the monks arm wrestling. Sword swallower versus Buddhist monk
Whoa.
for arm wrestling.
It's quite a duel.
Yeah. People will be
Are
very
you
happy.
not cold? It is
I'm a
February.
little bit cold now. I'm gonna get my jacket.
Because I'm a bit chill.
Do you have something else to put on?
Yes, it's in the car.
Okay.
Look at this wall. Beautiful.
Not sure what. We don't really have an ideal arm wrestling table.
Yeah.
But we can just use this and do our best. So I'm just gonna put this here.
I think we should remove everything from.
Well, it'll be kind of on the side. You know, the side of the table, just right here. Right. fold this up and use that as a cushion.
Fold it, you say?
Yeah, you want to have that
For the
be-
elbow?
Yeah, for your elbow.
Mm-hmm. All right. Can I clip it?
Sure, yeah. All right. So you arm wrestled in Moldova too, right? You've got a little bit of experience.
No, I didn't
Moldavia.
actually.
No, never.
Um,
But it is known over there, right?
yes.
People are arm wrestling in that part of the world. Okay.
Yes, of course. Perfect. Okay, I think, yeah. So you will have a good.
Wow.
Wow.
Very strong. Strong. You have to have a strong wrist and everything. So, firstly, we'll just let you do what you want to do, and then I'll give you all the tips to win.
Sure.
All right. So you go ahead. Do what you think is right. Oh my goodness. No. Oh no. Oh no. Okay.
Is it okay to hold on the table?
Well, yeah. You can hold on the table. We're just warming up. We're
Okay.
just getting going here.
Sure, sure. Are you playing with me? Oh, nice. Wow. Strong
Okay.
monk. The strongest monk I
Yeah.
ever met.
Don't worry, we're not finished yet. This is just practicing.
Yeah, I think you're draining me.
This is just
And
practicing.
then, and then you're gonna take it.
Okay. Why do you know what to do? Huh?
I'm listening. I'm being in the moment of now. Nice.
Okay.
Very good. Very good.
So as the stronger person, what you should try to do is to hold. So rather than trying to beat me,
Hmm.
you should try to hold me and contain me.
Yeah.
So try to do that.
To hold you.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Hold on. My elbow went outside of the pad. Kind of scratching,
Wow.
but it's good. It's good.
Okay. We can go left. Yeah, left.
I hurt my left.
Okay,
This
so you
is-
don't mess around with it then.
Yeah.
I will take a little 30-second break here.
Very good. Very good.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the most epic match in the Deer Park
Sure.
Monastery, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely one of them.
The strongest monk. Damn. I'll feel it tomorrow, I think. You know, that was my approach to sword swallowing. In a sense, it was a little bit arrogant and cocky,
Yeah.
but my vision was just like, hey, if he can do it, I can do it too. He's just human. He knows that. And Well, if we're in a jiu-jitsu, you gotta like, you let this person know.
This is what you got here. Oh my goodness.
It is straps.
Okay. Alright, so let me try something else here. Try a little bit more technique with you.
Okay.
Go ahead. What do you do? Who taught you to do
I
that?
wanna
Who taught
just
you to
have
do
a.
something like that? So count it down.
3, 2, 1. Hold on.
Alright.
You know what
It's
I
a real
think?
martial
I
art.
think here you might have a position that is not really,
Let's try. Let's see if there's any difference here.
because over there, I think you can. Oh, let me. Don't let me go, okay?
Uh-huh. Well, alright, go ahead.
Okay. I need to put it.
Yeah. Yeah, but you gotta put your arm down. Put your elbow down.
Your arm is like way longer, so
That's okay.
it doesn't, I can't get it down. Okay.
Alright, you can count it down.
3, 2, 1. Got it.
Oh my gosh.
Whew, nice. Wow. Strong, damn. Ah. I feel it.
Alright.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very well.
that's great. Okay, thanks for joining everybody. Bye bye. Thank you for your
Wow.
participation, and see you for meditation sometime.